Yo, y'all harangued me, harassed me, beat me over the head for a review of this damn Bird Box movie, and I'm not even mad. I am humbled that y'all, you would even bother to ask me what my opinion on this movie is. So, I got it. I'm doing it right now. I'm going to put this on both channels, the movie review and my main channel, because there's a lot of gems that can go either way. Okay, first, we get into a flashback. At the very beginning, Mallory, aka Sandra Bullock, is giving a speech to the children. She calls the children girl and boy. That signals her detachment to the children. The flashbacks between the conversation between Mallory and her sister Jessica. If you notice, Mallory's paintings are very dark, very, very ominous. A lot of dark backgrounds, people very sorrow. And then when Jessica asks her about the paintings, Mallory says it implies the inability to connect. So she paints what she sees and what she feels. She's just disconnected from the entire world, basically. Jessica is worried about her disconnect to her unborn child. Jessica compares the motherly instinct of a horse, saying that the instinct of a horse, they'll snip at anybody, highly, fiercely protective. They grew up on a farm. And so Jessica keeps mentioning she wanted to buy an Arabian horse. All right. So they go to her doctor's appointment. They're walking in. On to the left, you see the woman in the orange jumpsuit on the phone. And then there's another person on the right on the phone. And then Jessica is also on the phone, engaging with people. All the while, Mallory does not have a phone to her face. She's just totally disconnected. Everyone's connected, social media wise, communication wise, but still in a weird way, disconnected from actual physical contact. Okay. Mallory's OBGYN suggests adoption as a possible alternative, because even she notices that she's disconnected from her unborn child, and she's trying to convince her, hey, you should be a little bit more empathetic. You should, the motherly instinct should be kicking in at this point, but it's not, clearly. All right, let's see. The entity, or the vision, spirit, or whatever the case you want to call it, starts to spread from Europe, and then it hits Alaska. They watch the news. They turn off the news, but when you turn off the news, you can see where it actually shoots over to Anchorage, and then thus spreads down to California. All right, so by the time this is how quickly this thing spreads. This is about as fast as the movie with Mark Wahlberg, when the plants secreted the pheromones to cause the humans to kill themselves. I mean, it spreads just like that. So by the time Jessica and Mallory leave the doctor's office, the OBGYN, Jessica went to go get the truck. Mallory's walking out, and she sees the woman in red that was on the phone in the orange jumpsuit, bashing her head against the plastic door. So then mayhem just pretty much ensues at this point. By the time they get, a couple feet from the hospital, all hell breaks loose. People are just killing themselves, crashing, car crashes, yada, yada, yada. And I mean, the entity is moving very, very quickly. And then her sister Jessica's like, yeah, we should be on a horseback and away from the cities, away from open roads. And then all of a sudden, Jessica gets possessed with the entity. She crashes the vehicle, gets out the vehicle, and then literally steps in front of a dump truck. Okay, that's the end of Mallory's sister Jessica. So many notes. Okay, so then in the ensuing melee, you have a panic of people running. Melanie gets knocked down. A woman comes out of a house to try and help her. It is a man's wife. It is Douglas's wife. We'll meet Douglas later on. And in the ensuing melee, the wife becomes possessed by the entity and literally goes, and she says, "Mother," and she goes to sit inside of a burning car. So then the brother, Tom, comes by, sees her, she needs help, takes her inside the home of Douglas's home. There's other survivors there. There's Felix, and then there's Greg, and a couple other people, right? Okay. Okay, so then there's a footage of a horse. and the ensuing melee on the news, running freely. The horse implies freedom. Okay, horses represent just an unbridled freedom. That's why it's so important. That's why it's a big thing to kind of break a horse or tame a horse, because those Mustangs are just hell bent on not submitting to anybody. So it's a pretty big deal to tame a horse. Let's see what else. That's page 1 of the notes. Okay, so they're in the house. The survivors. I think it's MGK. He plays a police cadet. He said, hey, yeah, I think it affects the central nervous system. I've been seeing this for weeks. They conclude that the vision entity makes one commit suicide. They later realize down the road that it will bring out homicidal impulses if you are the type that has already been through what the entity forces you to see. So if you're a depraved individual, you've already gone through your loss, depression, you're just all around just a psychopath. The entity can bring out that impulse in you to make you kill people instead of just committing suicide. Okay. Lil Rel character Charlie speaks on the end game. He says humanity has been judged. He mentions several demons throughout all types of folklore throughout world history. The first one mentioned was Achaman and Davis. They come from the Zoroaster. The next one is Suriggoth. It is from the ancient Krishna cultists. It made pregnant women believe that their children were lobsters or spiders. Also, you got Hulugene from China. And yes, it's Puka. There isn't a demon called Puka. It's an old Celtic religion. Also, there's a movie called Puka. I suggest you guys check it out too as well on Netflix. It's weird. So we cut back to the river scene present day. There's 3 birds in a box. 3 birds in a box. Basically, the birds in a box is allegory to the human condition, currently what they're going through. When they were in the truck, basically, bird in a box means you have limited vision, you have restricted movements, you are contained. You can only go so far, move so far in each direction. Okay, so basically, you are contained and you are limited in your movements, thoughts, patterns, all that good stuff. You're just basically a caged bird. Okay. And then we do another flashback to the house. And then the radio announcer says, do not look at the things, or don't, So they figure out a way to cover their eyes. So they conclude that they need to cover their eyes. But then Greg, it's his home, right? No, it's not his home. So Greg says, hey, there's a security camera system. Why don't we try and see the things through the security camera? Of course, Mallory is like, that's not a good idea, because one of those things can still affect you through camera lenses. And he's like, oh, it's just Pixels technology. It shouldn't affect us, And then, of course, Douglas, played by John Malkovich, is like, no, that's a dumb idea. That's not going to work. So then Greg comes with the idea to tie him down, and he'll watch the monitors to see if he can actually see the entity. The entity is never revealed. Never see it. Never. Anywho, so he's watching the screen, and then you just see wind blowing in a shadow. Yes, Greg becomes affected, and there starts banging and knocking. Everyone runs upstairs. Greg literally throws himself off the chair to the side, and he hits his head on a huge gravel or slab of granite concrete. He dies instantly. Everyone's flipped out. They're all covering their eyes. They destroy the monitor. So they pretty much come up with the idea to cover all the windows, and when they go outside, wear blindfolds, if need be. Okay. Destroy the monitor. Mallory becomes deeply moved by Greg's death. So she's starting to kind of come out of her little funk, just a tad bit, inch by inch. All right, so then the second pregnant woman shows up. Her name's Olivia. They let her in. She decides to bunk with Mallory. She says, hey, she's trying to, break the ice, small talk, whatever. Hey, Mike, man, when do you do? I'm due, yada, yada, yada. We have you pick out a name. You can find the backstory that Mallory is a single mother. Olivia's husband was a soldier deployed. He didn't make it, clearly. And so she says, unborn children can sense when a mother's lonely. So that was another key point. So we go cut back to the river. Mallory comes across a psycho. Psychos basically are those people, those sociopaths that are not affected by the entity, they want to commit suicide. They instead want to commit murder. So then they in fight. She fights the man off. She stabs him in the neck. He drowns. And then we cut back to another flashback. They need to go on the food run because they run out of food. So they decide to go to the market against Charlie's wishes because Charlie worked at a market, a supermarket. So they black out all the windows of the Jeep, put newspaper up. So they use the GPS to make their way to the gas or to the supermarket. The entity tries to get inside the vehicle. They all flip out. Tom hits the gas and they end up literally crashing into the market. They get inside the market. They get, everyone's happy. They got food and they got supplies and items. So then one of Charlie's co-workers is locked inside a storage freezer. And, like, hey, how'd you get in there? And how'd you get locked in there? Clearly, he's a psycho. So someone opens the door and he tries to break out. And they're trying to struggle to get him back in. So then Charlie makes the ultimate sacrifice and throws himself inside the storage container with Freddy Fingers. That's his co-worker's name. Then you see blood underneath the door, so clearly Charlie killed himself. And then Freddy Fingers is like, hey guys, let me out. That was pretty bad. Okay, so then they go back to the house. They make it back to the house. Tom and Mallory, the brother, they exchange backstories, have, break the ice, whatever the case may be. They do some flirting. We find out that Mallory grew up on a farm. Her dad was a cowboy, very mean man, very hard man. Let's see. I'm sorry, bear with me. Okay, so they come up with backstory. Okay, so then Mallory and Douglas have an exchange. Douglas's backstory, his third marriage, his wife, the third wife that died, he said was the most sweetest woman he had ever met. Lucy and Felix, played by MGK and another brunette chick, they steal the Jeep. Never to be seen again because they're just pretty much dead at this point. Back to the river. They hit while she's rowing, they hit a truck in the middle of the river. Boy falls out. They lose the food and blankets. They go ashore. They find a barrack with blankets. She tells the kids stay at the canoe, whatever. Of course, one of the kids girl gets out. The kids don't listen. Girl gets out. Mallory encounters a spirit. She runs outside, grabs a little girl, berates the girl for leaving and going against her commands. Go back to the flashback. Tom and Mallory talk some more. Tom's backstory is former military. Okay, so then the Olivia, the second pregnant girl, Olivia, her dumbass, she lets in a stranger against no one knew that she let this man in. All right, his name's Gary. Gary comes with this backstory saying, hey, my colleagues, we got attacked by some psychos. These people are different. They don't wear blindfolds. They actually see. Their eyes are different. And they kill everybody. And the psychos initially basically were escaped mental patients from Northwood. Okay. So then Douglas is like, I don't like this. Get him out of here. We don't know him. Every time you come in contact with somebody, it runs a risk. I don't know this dude. He needs to get up out of here. Everyone's like, no, he stays, whatever the case may be. Okay, so then what ended up happening, Douglas had grabbed a shotgun from Mallory, and then the old lady comes up from behind Douglas and knocks him unconscious. Then they lock Douglas in the garage, and then Gary is free to kind of, roam around and do what he wants to do. Clearly, Gary's a freak, and he's a psycho. He's a psycho, clearly, but we'll get to that later. All right, knock him out. Okay, so Mallory and Olivia have an exchange. During the exchange, we get Olivia's backstory. She's spoiled and sheltered. Olivia makes Mallory promise to take care of her child if something happens to her, reluctantly against Mallory's best wishes. Back to the river. Mallory tells the kids that one of them will have to look to see where they're going once they hit the rapids. Okay, and one of the little boy volunteers. She says, no, I'll make the decision. Cut back to flashback. Both Olivia and Mallory's water both break at the same time. They basically give birth at the same time. Gary's downstairs, pulls out images of the entities. So that clearly indicates to you that he is a psycho. He knows what these things look like. And he starts ripping off the newspaper from the windows. Of course, Douglas can't do anything because he's locked in the garage, right? So then Tom comes downstairs, sees the images of the entity, and he gets hit on the head by Gary. Okay, knocks Tom out. And then Gary opens the garage door to where Douglas is locked in. Of course, Douglas is like covering his eyes, like, you son of a bitch, you're trying to kill me. What are you doing? Mallory has a boy. Olivia has a girl. Gary goes upstairs to look at the newborns. He says, hey, well, can I see? Oh, thank you, the beautiful. Then he starts to open the shades of the room. Olivia then looks. She becomes possessed. Mallory snatches the girl out of her arms. Olivia jumps out of the window. Gary then grabs the old lady and forces her eyes open, and she becomes possessed and stabs herself in the neck with some scissors. Douglas enters the room miraculously with the shotgun because his eyes are closed because he can't see, because he's not supposed to look. He can't look. And then Gary's like, hey, what are you doing? So he's moving around, trying to, mess. Hey, I'm here, whatever. So then Douglas ends up shooting Gary in the arm. Gary charges Douglas. They fall down the stairs. Then Gary picks up some scissors, stabs Douglas in the chest. Tom wakes up out of his slumber. They fight over the shotgun. You hit 2 shots. Tom comes in with the blanket, grabs Mallory and the kids. They get the hell out of Dodge. All right, flashback. Tom and Mallory, it's progressed. The kids are older now, so they're a couple. Mallory goes out scavenging for baby items. She actually picks out a lingerie. And so then they have their relationship is set. They at one point receive a radio information over the CB about there's a compound where it's safe. They would have to go through the river by 2 days rowing, things of that nature. So they debate back and forth where they should go. Mallory's like, we should stay here. Tom wants to go, take a chance and go. Wants to go. Mallory's like, well, they could be one of those crazy psycho people. Okay. So then there's a part in there where Tom is telling the kids a story, and it's a story about hope and belief. And then Mallory's like, nope, time to go to bed, yada yada yada. She cuts the story short. So then Tom comes into bed, finishes telling her the story. So then because Mallory's about survival, Tom is about belief and hope at this point, or what life could be. All right, so then psychos show up at the house. Tom tells Mallory to take the girls and go to the river. I ain't gonna make it, basically. She's like, I'm not leaving without you. It was sweet. And so then, Tom comes out, blindfolded with shotgun in hand, and Psycho's like, hey, what's going on? You don't need that. Shootout ensues. Tom kills 2 of them, first rip out, and then Tom gets shot. So then Tom decides that at some point take off his blindfold. He kills 2 more of the psychos. He kills the last one that's actually trying to follow Mallory and the kids. And then as he is about to kill the last one, he becomes possessed. So in his last conscious moments, he kills the last psycho, and then he turns the gun on himself and kills himself. It's pretty sad. So then it cuts to present day where Mallory, the beginning of the speech that Mallory gave, it goes into actually Mallory giving the speech to the kids. Mallory tells the kids, hey, she decides no one's going to look, because the boy had volunteered, say, hey, I'll look. She didn't decide, nope, no one's going to look. So then they get through the rapids, they come ashore, they follow the sounds of the birds. Mallory encounters a spirit. She trips and falls down an embankment. Each of them, they all encounter spirits on their own. The kids get separated, and what the spirit was doing was like, hey, coming to them in familiar voices and say, hey, take a look. It's me, take a look. And so like Mallory, her spirit, it was Tom. It was like, hey, it's me, Tom. Mallory, look, take a look. It's beautiful, take a look. She doesn't fall for it. She basically has a breakdown moment and realizes she's been so detached, and apologizes for being such a distant and cold person towards the kids. And she actually finishes the story that Tom was telling the kids. So she finds both boy and girl, and then they end up at a doorstep. She's like, hey, spirit, because of course the spirit is after them at this point. And she's like, just take the kids, they're just kids, take the kids. The door opens, they let them in. It's a school for the blind. How about that? So you mean this whole time when they basically run around here fake blind because they had to, they come to a spot where it's actual school for the blind. And the guy that was over the CB, his name was Rick. He's the headmaster. He's blind. So then, they take her and the kids, they check their eyes, And it's like Professor X, man. You got a bunch of these little mutant blind children. I'm not laughing, but it's funny, but it's not funny. So you got all these little blind kids, blind adults running around here in this compound. All these birds chirping, it's green, it's lush, everyone's happy and chilling. Then, of all people, Mallory comes across her OBGYN. And then she said, oh, who is these two, you know, and what are their names? She said, oh, girl and boy. The kid's like, a girl and boy. And then she's like, no, your name is Olivia, after the sweetest woman I ever known. And she names her son Tom. And she said, I'm your mother. The end. It was like The Happening. That's the name of the Mark Wahlberg movie. The Happening, and like A Quiet Place, like caffeine, sugar light, right? You got Quiet Place. This is like A Quiet Place light. You got The Happening. This is like The Happening light. It was pretty entertaining. I thought it was pretty slick, but you know, a lot of the themes and tropes are kind of borrowed heavily from those two movies. But still, Sandra Bullock played her ass off. The kids did a good job. Of course, I was rooting for the brother to make it towards the end, but goddamn it, you know, the brother. If it wasn't for the brother, they wouldn't have made it. There, I said it. It's always the brother making a sacrifice so everybody else can live. Damn it. So that's my review of what is the name of this movie? Bird Book. Wait, is that the name of this movie? Whatever, man. You know what? I'm just all over the place right now. Yeah, Bird Book. It's an allegory of the birds that they. Oh, also the birds were important because the birds were an early warning system to the entities or to the spirits. That's why they kept the birds around. They gave you enough warning that the spirits are coming to take action. But the birds in the box, the whole time, when they went into the supermarket, Mallory finds the birds in a cage. She puts them in the box. You know, the holes, it's limited. You know, like I said, it's contained movement. Basically, they were all contained in this little world. They couldn't go out because of the spirits and the entities were waiting for them. So they kind of had to live in this box, of a human-made conditioned box. So it's this allegory at the end of the day. And of course, you know, it made references to the demons of the old world religions about the end times, end game, whatever the case may be. So I enjoyed the movie. I'm sure you guys did, because y'all was beating me over the head about doing this damn review for this movie. So I hope this review kind of shed some light on some things you guys might have missed. And I look forward to you guys' comments, because there may be some things that I may have missed. So I'm about to wrap this up. I'm going inside. I'm putting this on both channels. Y'all have a good night. Merry Christmas. Regardless if it's pagan or not, I don't give a fuck. Just be happy that you're alive and be vigilant and love your peoples. Y'all have a good night. Peace.